A little over 10 months ago, I made a little video called the Partners in Time Boss Ranking, and now it has over 3,000 views, and I could not thank you guys enough for it, but again, I probably wish that it was for a different video that got 3,000 views, because oh my god, this video's bad. Like, I do not like it at all. It's cringy, my opinion's just wrong, the video quality's terrible, so I decided, yeah, it's time to remake this thing. Obviously, my opinion's changed, and I have better video quality. It won't be just sounding like this, like, hey guys, what's up? I'm not gonna be sounding stuff like that, so you might as well stick around for it. I'm really excited for it, because I actually haven't talked about Partners in Time in over 5 months. That's ridiculous to think about, so I don't really want to keep you guys waiting, so let's get started. Actually, I do want to keep you guys waiting for one thing. I really want to hit 1,000 subscribers before summer break starts, so if you're not subscribed yet, or you know a Mario RPG fan that is subscribed, tell them to subscribe, or subscribe yourself. I really appreciate that. But other than that, let's get started. Oh, Shroob. I'm pretty sure I used that exact same line in the original boss ranking. Oh god, Shroob though. It's just as a battle alone, not taking like any context at all. It just feels like a better tutorial fight. It just feels like more dodge training, which I guess in that regard is better than other tutorial fights, but there's a couple problems with that logic alone. Well, first off, it's at the end of the game after the supposedly final boss of Elder Princess Shroob, and the other thing is that the game is trying to treat this as a final boss, which is just, that just kind of ticks me off, I'm not gonna lie. This boss fight is trying to be like, oh, all intimidating, like Bowser's Rainbow, he's invincible, like Elder Princess Shroob went inside of him to make him really powerful. But no, you just have to counterattack him 20 times. I mean, I guess he's not annoying, which is why I do think he's better than some tutorial fights in all the Mario and Luigi series, but just as a boss fight, it's so pathetic. It doesn't need to be at the end of the game. If the game just wanted us to fight Bowser just really powerfully, I actually would have been fine with that. That would have been a somewhat enjoyable fight. It would have been, like, amazing or anything, but it wouldn't have been fine. But how it is now, it's just wimpy, it's pathetic, it's trying to produce just a really intimidating figure, but it just isn't. Make us attack. It would have been much more fun if we could actually attack this thing. Maybe just have us do no damage. Maybe if we just jumped on him, we would do 0 damage. He's just invincible in that regard. That would have maybe buffed the intimidation a bit and maybe had more atmosphere and just make it more scary, I guess? I don't know. There's just not much things to fix with this fight. In my opinion, I just get rid of it. I just have Elder Princess Shroob as the final boss, and it would have been completely fine ending the game there. But no, the developers wanted to extend it a bit, and it just doesn't make sense to me. The hardest part of the list was deliberating between number 12 and number 11, but I decided to put the Elite Hammer Bros at number 12. Why? Because even with just the Baby Bros, this fight is really easy, because you just need to spam Fire Flowers. Now yes, that is the biggest positive of the fight, that it's only with the babies, and I do like that part because that's the only boss that actually allows that, but the problem is that if you just use Fire Flowers, it's an extremely trivial fight. Once you get the burn effect on both the Elite Hammer Bros, you won, because they won't be able to attack you, and then they just constantly get burned. And even if you just inflict the burn effect with one of the Elite Hammer Bros, you're still gonna have a really easy time after it, because the one Elite Hammer Bro attack where there's only one that's actually active, you just have to dodge the hammers, and that's pretty easy to do. So because of this, the fight's extremely easy. I'd rather just not bother with the fight. I really just count it as a mini boss. It's really easy to defeat, so because of that, I had to put it at number 12. So this was probably the weirdest fight to rank. Kamek is okay. I think it has the exact same quality as the Elite Hammer Bros, but I actually put it above the Elite Hammer Bros now. Originally I had it below, mainly because I think the attacks with Kamek are better than the ones from the Elite Hammer Bros. I mean, the Elite Hammer Bros kind of has basic attacks, but with Kamek, yeah, they're kind of easy to dodge and make the fight really easy, especially the attacks that heal you, but they're definitely more interesting to dodge. And speaking of that spike ball attack, I really do enjoy it because you're actually waiting for a spike ball to come. It keeps you on your toes. But I don't like that the spike ball immediately goes to the actual Kamek. I think it should just go to the copy that's actually attacking you, just to actually get more use to the smash egg in my opinion. But, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I also like the fire attack. It is somewhat difficult to dodge, and when the fire hits Kamek, it's kind of funny to look at. But of course, it's just way too easy health-wise. I mean, he has so little health, especially because now you have the cannonballer, which just makes the fight super trivial. So because of that, this fight was going to be really low, but at the very least, it does have more unique attacks compared to Lee Hammer Bros, so that's why it is at number 11. Mrs. Thwomp was also a pretty weird fight to rank because it's just so similar to the Kamek fight. I don't know why they made it so similar, but it very much is. I mean, they both have copies of themselves, they both give you free stuff, and they're both pretty easy. I want to mainly talk about the copies, because obviously the free stuff and the easiness, that's kind of obvious. So the copies, the main reason I think Miss Thwomp is better. Now, Miss Thwomp has 4 different copies instead of 5 with Kamek, and it's pretty easy to tell which one is Miss Thwomp. So you can just use copy flowers on the real Miss Thwomp and it does a lot of damage. But at the very least, when Miss Thwomp does have a chance to attack, all 4 of them do attack you, and they won't just immediately die, because they do have that extra HP. Now with Kamek, it's not the same way, because once you attack the real Kamek, then every single copy disappears, and in that regard, it's just worse in my opinion. I also like that you have the later Bros items with Mrs. Thwomp. You have stuff like Copy Flower, Pocket Chump, and the Trampoline, which are more fun to use compared to stuff like just the Cannonballer and the Smash Egg. And this is why Miss Thwomp is at number 10. It's not a great fight, but at the very least, it is better than the Kamek fight. We're gonna get to the good fights soon, I swear, but we first gotta talk about PD Piranha. So PD Piranha does have some good stuff surrounding it, don't get me wrong. Well, first off, I like his attacks. They are somewhat unique, and they are fun to dodge. I also like that he sinks himself to the ground, mainly because your most powerful attacks at this time are the Trampoline, the Pocket Chomp, and the Cannonballer. And when he's in the ground, he's a spiky enemy, which means you cannot use any of those attacks. You have to use stuff like Ice Flowers or Fire Flowers, which in my opinion is a big plus. But why am I singing so much praise to this fight even though it's pretty low? Well, this is the most unmemorable fight in Partners in Time. Why? Well, let's compare it to every single boss in Superstar Saga, or most bosses in Superstar Saga. So the bosses in Superstar Saga are good, they are easy, they do have good attacks though, but the main problem with them is that most of the boss fights don't have anything that makes them stand out. That's exactly how I feel about PD Piranha. It's a decent fight that has good attacks, but there's nothing here that is special that makes it stand out. Yes, him sinking into the ground is a good thing and probably the biggest highlight of this fight, but the other positive I mentioned is attacks. I mean, Partners in Time have bosses that have way better attacks than PD Piranha, so it's not even that big of a positive, which is why PD Piranha is so low. I mean, we're getting close to the good fights, and I do like him sinking to the ground, but he needed more to him for me to actually be invested in this fight. If there's something that Partners in Time bosses do really well, it's good boss concepts, and Swiggler is the first main example of this. It's a really early fight. It's the second boss in the game, and originally I underrated it because I said, oh, it's easy, go towards the bottom. But then I didn't really internalize the concept of the fight because it's extremely unique. I mean, think about it. There's Dr. Shroops on the battlefield. You normally think, oh, they're just normal enemies to make the boss fight harder, just more attacks sent towards you. But no, you have to attack the Dr. Shroops' poison mushrooms and knock them into the drink so Swiggler can drink it and grow weak. And he can actually attack you if he's weak like this. You can just do a ton of damage with Cannonballers and you're good to go. But if you knock a red mushroom in there, well, it heals some of his health. And then there's no mushrooms in there, then he'll just drink it, and then the troops will attack you with a pretty good attack. Also, Swiggler's attacks are pretty good, and I like when Swiggler's just normal power. He's red. If you jump on him or do any powerful attack at all, he'll just attack you randomly, which is actually pretty good, and it's definitely threatening. This is actually a pretty good boss fight for the second boss fight in the entire game. I think it definitely could have been a bit harder, but I really can't complain. This is definitely a good early fight that deserves to be this high. If I had to describe the Shroob Brat fight in a sentence, I would say it is good. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's for a lot of fights, but the main reason I'm saying it for this fight is because this is the most solid fight on the list. It's a good fight, you have good bros items to kill it, and it has decent attacks. it also has the audience involvement, which makes it somewhat memorable. And if we compare it to PD Piranha, it doesn't really have anything memorable, while the Shroob Boy Brat, it's a very simple fight, but at least it has something that makes it somewhat memorable, which is why it is up this high. I mean, it's a basic fight, sure, but that one little thing definitely puts it as a good fight for me, which is why it's this high. I mean, it's a short segment, but everything here works, and there's just not really that much to talk about. Sunnyside has the best boss concept and Partners in Time, and it's crazy to say that because again, this game has some really good boss concepts, but in my opinion, Sunnyside does it best. I really like the concept here. You have to break open 5 Yoshi eggs, and then every single Yoshi will run on top of the screen, and then push a chain chomp ball to knock over Sunnyside, and then you can use stuff like cannonballers or just normal jumps to do a lot of damage on his weak point. And before, you could just do normal jumps, and it'd do extremely little amount of damage. So you kind of need to do this concept, and it's extremely creative, and I love that. I mean, his attacks, on the other hand, are only okay, and the difficulty, it's pretty easy, which is why it's only at number 6. I mean, the boss concept is amazing and I love it, but they pushed everything towards the boss concept instead of more spreading it out, which is why it's only at number 6. I think they should have tried to focus on everything instead of just the boss concept, even though it does make the boss fight extremely memorable. The Commander Shroob is also another example that has a really good boss concept, but not amazing things surrounding it. But it does have better stuff surrounding it, which is why it's above Sunnyside. Like its attacks, there's definitely less, but I think that they're better than Sunnyside's, mainly because they're just more unique. Especially the attack where the Commander Shroob just sends a ton of Shroobs at you, he just hits some of them in random directions. It's definitely fun and unique to dodge. I also like the big bomb attack where you have to just go back and forth knocking the bomb into the air. It's fun and definitely somewhat threatening. And speaking of the big bomb, I really like the concept with it. Well, first off, it blocks you for using your most powerful attacks for a bit, which I think is a really good thing. I also like that you're forced to attack the 2 Shroobs in the back. So if you're using stuff like trampolines, you might be screwed. You have to use stuff like copy flowers or red shells. So I really like the concept for this fight as well. I don't know how much damage it does if the bomb gets knocked into you, and to be fair, I don't even know what happens when there's just one Shroob in the middle. But it's still a very unique concept that is definitely somewhat hard to figure out, but once you figure it out, it is somewhat easy, which is definitely nice, because it's not a super easy fight, but the difficulty is still somewhat low, which, it can be a bad thing, but I mean, the concept for this fight is good enough where I'm actually fine with it. And this is why Commander Shroob is number 5. It's just a really enjoyable boss fight from this game. So this fight I just talked about in my last video, the Bowser fight ranking in the Mario and Luigi series, so check that video out if you want to. So I'm just going to sum up very simply. This fight is way too easy because of the Ice Flower. It obliterates both Bowser and Baby Bowser's health. I do like that Baby Bowser is a medic, and I do like both of their attacks. And the best thing about this fight is obviously the charm. You're fighting both Baby Bowser and Bowser's piggybacking Baby Bowser. And that's exactly how the bros and the baby bros have been doing it the entire game, which in that regard it's really fun, but I think it just needed to have more health, and if it did, then it would have been easily in the top 3 for me, but for how it is, it's only at number 4. Obviously, it is still a great fight. Princess Shroob is a great fight. I forgot to mention this in the Bowser and Baby Bowser segment, but these top 4 fights are the great fights of Partners in Time. The best of the best. I love these fights. There's very few problems with them, and that applies entirely to Princess Shroob. There's only one problem I have with this fight, and that it's definitely basic compared to Elder Princess Shroob. But first off, obviously it's gonna happen. Elder Princess Shroob is the final boss of the game. And 2, that's not really that big of a problem because I still really like what happens in this fight. I like every single attack. They're threatening and somewhat hard to dodge. I like the chair concept. There's a barrier there, and it doesn't actually apply to how much power you actually hit it with. It just applies to how much you've actually hit it in general, like with stuff like trampolines and copy flowers, which makes those stuff really effective. I also like that she has a lot of HP, especially because we've talked about so many easy fights on this list. She has a lot of HP, which actually makes this fight somewhat difficult, which is such a breath of fresh air, I must say. I mean, I love a lot about the Princess Shroob fight, but the only reason it's not at number 2 or number 1 is that it's just somewhat basic compared to the top 2. I love this fight a lot, but that's the only problem, and that's why it's at number 3. The Elder Shroob, in my opinion, has zero flaws. The only thing I want to point out is that the first phase is only good. And that's not even a problem. I'm just saying it maybe could have been better, but I don't really know what there was to improve. The second phase is amazing though, but the first phase is just good. It has solid attacks that are kind of forgettable, to be honest, but I do like that he's a spiky enemy. Just a little bit of added challenge, and he does have a decent amount of HP, which is nice. But when you get to the second phase, it gets much better. Well, first off, he grows huge, which means he's more powerful. The other thing though, and why this fight is at number 2, is he gets one of those Shroob UFOs that knocked you out in Holly Jolly Village. The auto kill one. If the timer runs out, you're dead. You instantly die, which is extremely stressful. And because of this, I love the fight, because one, you can reset the timer, but even if you couldn't, I'd still have a lot of fun with it, because you have to do perfect amounts of dodges, which is just amazing, and I love the fight for it. I wouldn't say it's a perfect fight, that's safe for number 1, but it's definitely a really fun fight that I just really cannot complain about. Did you guys really expect anything else to be number 1 aside from Elder Princess Shroob? I think it was pretty obvious. Well, first off, I really like that Elder Princess Shroob attacks more than once. I think a lot of the later bosses do this, but Elder Princess Shroob attacks the most. Her legs attack, her arms attack, and her head attacks, which is very threatening because you have a lot of chances to take damage, which she does a lot of damage in this fight, and her attacks are pretty hard to dodge. Now, yes, I did say that I fought this boss fight so many times that I'm basically null to all the atmosphere, which I absolutely agree with. But it's still a very fun fight that I do enjoy fighting, which is a very good thing. I love the music, of course, and I do like the first phase because it's very simple and very fun. I think it's like a tiny bit better than Princess Shroob. So, yeah, I really enjoy this fight. Again, check my final boss ranking for the Mario and Luigi series if you want to see my full opinion on it, but I really do love this fight. It was obviously going to land at number 1. Thank you guys for watching this video. My next video will be the fan-voted list for Dream Team. So I'm really excited for it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Other than that, G-bye.